How you doing, YouTube? Matt Massive Beer Reviews back with yet another review. A beer I've wanted to review for quite some time. Never have, though. Form of New England Brewing Company. It's their Imperial Stormtrooper Stout. Yeah. Courtesy of Steven. Thank you very much. He desk starred me with a crazy amount of beer the other day. And, finally digging into them. I've always wanted to do this one just because I'm a Star Wars nerd. Because, I actually have taste. And, I've always dug it. Now, they've kind of like, I don't know if they got a C&D, but they kind of started doing like a little bit of different stuff on like the old Stormtrooper mask and stuff like that. But it is what it is. Other than that, it says brewed in brewery not too far away, not too long ago. Imperial Stout Trooper is a full embodied stout with a majestic blend of many malts and hops. Imperial Stout Trooper. Did I say Stormtrooper? Anyway, and this was canned right before Christmas, so we're talking about just about 6 months old, which should be totally fine for this beer, and it comes in at a meager, I assume, ABV of, I don't see here, I did it all for the Wookiee, it says on the bottom. Anytime you can get a shitty Limp Bizkit fucking reference, I mean that in a positive way, New England Brewing Company, I'm not actually pooping on that, I meant Limp Bizkit is shitty, not you or your beers or your puns or all that stuff. Actually, I don't see an ABV. It's kind of pissing me off right now. Yeah, whatever. I'm going to drink it. I think this is always in bottles. I think they started doing this in cans. I could be wrong. I've had this before. I never reviewed it before. I can't tell you the last time I had it. Probably a couple years ago, so we'll see what's what. Put that little can there. And there you go. Look at that. Infinite creaminess. Super tight compact bubbles. What I like my coffee to look like color-wise. And Doc. Yeah. Pretty. Let's get a nose. Pretty much what you'd expect from a big kind of Imperial Stout. Big, huge chocolate notes, a little bit of soft bittering, a little bit of kind of coffee vibes on it, but it's like really heavily chocolate leaning. And that chocolate kind of comes off a little bit creamy, more like a chocolate kind of cream moussey kind of thing. Maybe a little bit of like a chocolate Cool Whippy kind of thing going on, but it's kind of pretty fucking delectable, nose-wise at least. Let's dive in. Cheers. Ooh. That's creepily drinkable. I mean, there's a little bit of soft heat to it, and there's a little bit of that metallic astringency I get from some of these darker beers. But it's kind of forgivable. Kind of melds a little bit with the roasted malts from the beer itself. When I get that kind of that soft metallic thing, I tend to think the beer is a little bit lower in ABV. So me not knowing the ABV in this, I'm assuming it's sub 10%. I could be wrong. But each subsequent sip, that little bit of metallic thing kind of gets a little bit less and less. But it's got a nice rich chocolate to it. It goes from that super creamy kind of moussey thing to a little bit more kind of darker baker's chocolate with a little bit of sweetness to it. There's still that nice roast to it. You're still getting soft coffee vibes from it. And it's got a nice mouthfeel to it. It's not going to be confused with the thickest of beers in the history of mankind, but at the same time, it's not thin. I like it. It's tasty. Fun. Plus, it has Star Wars shit on it. Who doesn't like that? Yeah. Really nice. Really well done. What I assume is a Core 4 Stout. They actually don't talk about any kind of additions or anything like this in there. And that's kind of one of the things that we end up being like a little bit almost jaded when it comes to kind of stouts nowadays, more specifically, is that when our Core 4 starts, they kind of take us by surprise. We're like, oh my God, there's nothing else in this but a Core 4 ingredients. And so when you're actually sitting there and you're drinking beers, I know that I'm guilty of this myself. I kind of start thinking about it going like, where's this kind of super expressive pastry elements, for the lack of a better word, and then you realize, oh, that's because people are throwing so much shit at beer nowadays that when you get a beer like this and then you're kind of like, okay, I really dig this, but it's lacking that wow factor, then you kind of take a step back and be like, oh, it's a Core 4 beer. This is really fucking amazing for a Core 4 beer. That's the best part about it. This is a really good, well-made Imperial Stout. Core 4 Imperial Stout that does not suck. A lot of people aren't doing them nowadays. A lot of people are eschewing it for, the super kind of hype trainy stuff, and it's cool to see New England company still kind of, stick by their guns, or their blasters, if you will, and kind of keep their beers in the same, what's the word? Their ethos hasn't changed all that much. Now, like, you look at breweries and say, okay, they didn't change at the time, so that's why they went under it. And I understand that, but having had Gandhi Bot for the first time in a long time, not too long ago, and really liking it, and then having this beer for the first time in a really long time and really digging it, it goes to show you that a lot of those, I don't want to call them classic styles, because you're talking about this beer being like a fucking whale only like 4 or 5 years ago. A lot of these kind of new school kind of hype beers, they're delicious, and I think a lot of people kind of poo-poo them or shoo them because they're just easy to get, or they've already ticked that box and they don't need to go back to it. And that's kind of one of those things that just implore you to go back and figure out why you like that beer in the first place, because chances are it's pretty fucking good. Anyway, let's talk about it. Is it one of the better Core 4 stouts that I've had as of late? Absolutely. Is it number one? No. There's been a couple that have done me better, but it's definitely in the conversation. Value and availability, I don't know. I know their stuff hits shelves quite a bit, so I don't know if this does. Maybe somebody out there, Steven or otherwise, can let us know what's what when it comes to this beer, and leave you with, if you like what, will you like this beer? If you like Star Wars, Imperial Stouts, Blasters, me soapboxing about shit, and Core 4 Stouts. It's a tasty beer. If you like stouts that you don't need pastry in your life, and you want something that is roasty, toasty, delectable, drinkable, and I assume sub 10%. I think this is like in high 8s, low 9s. I could be wrong, but then you'll like this beer. There you go. Another review in the books. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Down there if you want to talk about it. Massive Beers if you want to check me out doing the social media stuff. Beer Massive if you want to check me out doing the whole podcasting thing. And hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. Hopefully enjoying a nice little Star Wars themed beer right now. And hopefully see you next time. Cheers.